The next part of our journey took us to a time in our lives where working with Mark Davy was really awesome. Mark Davy happened to work with us at King David, and he was a former soccer player in his time. He played in America, but to see where he's progressed now, where he's the Kaizer Chiefs technical analyst, and he's also with Bafana. It's a guy that is a close friend of mine and a guy that I really respect. The other one that we did is Thabiso. Thabiso Makhetha has worked at Amazulu's academy, and he's worked in America as well, having coached at the Jesters in New Orleans. He's also a guy that's a close friend of mine who I traveled with to America, where we happened to coach at a camp together, and we happened to coach actually at a youth at risk. We coached a group there in the Bronx, which was really some great experiences, and it was great catching up with him, and I hope you enjoy.
All right, welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining us as we continue on this journey. And today on our journey, we're joined by Mark Davy and Thabiso, mates of ours, both very professional individuals, professional at what they do, and we hope to get some insight from them as well. But before we get to all of that, Mark Davy, is it true that you are the biggest ninja in the world?
I think my reputation precedes me. However, a lot has changed. Through relationships, and whether professional or personal, I've developed the skill of handling my alcohol.
Or just disappearing. If you want to put it that way, we just distinctly remember you disappearing a few times, but we're not going to get into that too much. Both of you are involved at a high level of sport, and like I said, we're going to get onto that a little bit later. But Mark Davy, we go back a long way. We go back to King David, and with Thabz as well. We shared some good times there as well. Can you tell us how it all started for you? How did you get to King David?
So, I was staying in Cape Town in between 2008 and 2010. For the World Cup, we moved back because we had tickets and we had bought. That's not the only reason we moved back, but we came here and all the games were here. So part and parcel of us moving back was because of the World Cup as well. But that meant that I had lost my job in Cape Town. So coming back to Joburg, I needed a job, and I was inclined to go into sport more than into the corporate world because it just wasn't for me. Through my mom's contacts, there was Alistair who worked with you guys at King David at that time, and through him I then got the position at King David. So I think it was an interesting time because I had not been involved in coaching. I'd been involved in sport, but not in coaching specifically. And I don't think there would have been a better place for me to go. And that's specifically because of the coaches, as well as the kids. The kids are a difficult bunch of kids. They were a difficult bunch of kids. To be completely honest, it was very challenging. But with the help and with the guidance of the coaches that were there, and I'm not just saying this, it's probably some of the best coaches I've met to this day that I had met at King David. And I always say this to Thabz as well. Like I've met quite a few coaches and interacted with coaches, but what I picked up from the coaches at King David was man management. I know we're not getting into that right now, but man management was a massive, massive part of coaching, especially the kids that you guys were coaching at that time. So yeah, That's
Yeah,
just
no, that's interesting. You talk about how difficult the kids were and a challenge. And I think one of the most important things is they challenged us to be better humans, and not just technically, but just to be better people at most times and to care. And we all got that out of that. If you listen to our last interview with the girls, you would have picked that up from that as well. But interestingly, you were involved in forget the soccer for now, but you're involved in touch rugby as well, Mark Davy.
yeah.
How was that for you, like coaching touch rugby?
So I don't have a rugby background at all. I love the sport, but I'd never played it. My favorite part of coaching touch rugby were the kids, were the girls. I coached the girls, and specifically, it was the most fulfilling experience because getting the small stuff right, the basic techniques, something that I had to learn, and purely by watching you guys coach, and even putting drills together was a challenge for me. But when it came together, that enjoyment and the excitement that you see in them that experience is you can't get a more fulfilling experience as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, sorry to cut you off. I think you're absolutely right when you talk about fulfillment and coaching girls touch rugby. And I think at that point in time, we were all learning. Although we played rugby, but we hadn't really coached touch rugby, and it was interesting times. And I have a couple of memories, Mark Davy, going to Durban with you on a cycle trip, where you were our. I don't know how you did it, Mark. You spent time driving behind. I think you were on the bus, if I'm not mistaken, for quite a bit of that tour, where you were our, I would call it support. How did you find those 4 days? Like, must have been interesting for you supporting, and I know you cycled a bit of it as well because you wanted to. But how did you find that supporting? And I think you also took over cycling at some stage as well at the school.
I did, yes. So the first tour, I think we did 3. I was part of 3 of those cycle tours. And the first one, I was more support. A lot of the time in the bus, I remember just before we got into Pietermaritzburg, if I'm not mistaken, one of the boys had a massive accident. And he fell coming down over speed bumps. And it was challenging because for me, a fall is a fall. And you get up and but it was different. So you have to be a lot more, you have to adapt and be a lot more concerned, whether it's genuine or not. Hopefully it's genuine, but you have to be more caring. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great experience. I thought these grade 8 kids cycling for 4 days, it's actually a tremendous achievement. You feel that fulfillment once you come into Hillcrest, down that hill. It's ridiculous. It's still something I think about and talk about to this day.
I felt more than just fulfillment, Mark Davy, because I think my bum was sore for the next month after that.
I remember you didn't train at all.
Yeah, I did no training, and I got on the bike and I was like, let's go. So it was tough. My legs were sore after that. I'm glad that you go, because the next tours, I think you did cycle with us and you got to experience all of that as well. And and I think you got an opportunity at King David as well to coach a sport that you're really passionate about. But before we get to that, do you remember the days of Kaizer Chiefs, Mark David?
I do.
When we played Kaizer Chiefs, we were that was our fame, Kaizer Chiefs indoor soccer. How did you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience, eh?
It was. We spoke it into my existence.
Still what? Sorry, Mark?
I said we brought the Kaizer Chiefs experience into my existence specifically.
I think you brought it. I think those of you who don't know, Mark Davy was a highly talented soccer player. Probably is still a highly talented soccer player, and he could do magic with the ball.
Glenn, I'd actually like when you talk about Mark and his soccer, I'd actually like you for him to just briefly talk about his experience in America. because you did go and play there for a bit, and just speak a little bit about that.
Okay, so at the age of 20, we had trials. I had a friend of mine that was at a college in America, Lyle, and he had then discussed with the coach at the time. At that time, it was Tyler Junior College. They were the national champs for the junior colleges, and so he had done trials here in South Africa, and two of us were selected to go and play and study at the college. I was there for 6 months. Great experience, absolutely wonderful experience to see the facilities, and I mean, a junior college is before your colleges and your universities. So to see the facilities they have is absolutely, it's better than what a lot of our PSL teams at this point. Talking two well-maintained fields, an indoor gym, indoor running track, indoor swimming pool, 9 physios, obviously student physios. So, but you have 9 physios that service the soccer team and as well as the football team. But you had that at your disposal. The football for me was not the greatest. I think had I been a bit more focused, and been present and realized where I actually was, I think I could have pursued it and did a lot more than what I did. But in itself, it was a great experience because you interacting with players from all around the world, and you realize that we're not so far off. We actually, if not up there with, especially at that age, at that level, we were up there with, some of the bigger footballing countries. So, I mean, a lot of South Africans now are going over there and doing quite well, playing in the MLS, playing in the league below the MLS. So, yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the fact that at some stage, Mark, you weren't really aware of where you were, so you didn't absorb all of that properly, and you didn't quite take it on fully. And I think that kind of experience probably would have shown itself or revealed itself when you were coaching at King David. Because I could see the way that you coach, you cared for the kids a little bit more, and I think giving them advice and getting them to take their soccer seriously was one of the things that came out. It wasn't just a case of you coaching and just wanting to win matches, but it was about the players as well. And you had a nice time coaching the boys soccer there at the school, and I think that's probably got you going in terms of where you are now. And so, just in terms of coaching at boys soccer at a junior level, how did you go about it? What was your approach?
To be honest, I had no clue what I was doing. I'm completely honest now. I had no clue where to start. I think what helped me specifically, was going on that KNVB coaching course. Structure your sessions. Your sessions need to flow from one to the other to the next. So that helped a lot. But starting off, it was difficult. I had difficulty dealing with the personalities. I had difficulty dealing with the approach, the tactical approach. Initially there was no, but at the same time, those challenges I find myself, but the manner in which I deal with them is a lot different. Had I not experienced the challenges that I had at that time, and I'm talking challenges within myself as a coach, I would not be able to deal with the challenges I get faced with today. King David there were a lot of, I was actually surprised, I was surprised by the talent, the footballing talent, both male and female. It was actually, growing up where I did, you almost frown upon and I'm going to say it straight, certain races, certain nationalities, and you believe that you guys are better than, you know. And when I got to King David, it was actually refreshing, because there was immense talent and skill that I had not expected, you know. So I think it was a great experience. I mean, there's players today that I can still think of, like Gilly Haim, Daniel Alouf, Alon Bedell. Those players,
Nice.
quality players. I mean, specifically Daniel Alouf. I thought that he could have been a professional footballer, and he probably could have.
Okay.
In the younger age group. So.
Yeah, interesting that you say that you didn't know what you were doing at the time, because from our point of view and from the perspective of the boys as well, they absolutely enjoyed your coaching, and your sessions were always technical. You know, you could always see that you put a lot of thought into it, and you definitely wanted to get the best out of your team through those training sessions. So I think you handled that part quite well. And like you say, it's it's a building thing. And this whole time, Thabz and I have been speaking about the things that we learned from those challenges, the things that we learned from our journey starting at King David, and things that have made us better coaches. And you obviously, it's taught you lots of things in life that you've taken into your own life now, into your own personal life. And that's essentially, that's why we do these things. And that's how we learn. And so Mark, eventually you left King David, and we were quite saddened by with the day that you told me that you were leaving. I was quite sad, and it wasn't lacquer. But you had to. It's your career and your profession, and you moved to Kaizer Chiefs as a video analyst. Talk us through that and how that was, and how it is like on what's your day like as a video analyst.
Okay, before we go there, Glenn, I have to say this. I think coaches there at King David, as I said earlier, are some of the best coaches I've ever met. And what I've learned, like specifically, say from you, Glenn, you're a bit of a perfectionist. Okay, your painting keeps falling down, but you're a perfectionist. And everything I remember, and for me, this is a big part of being in sport, in professional sport or sport in general, is your lifestyle almost is a reflection of you as a coach or you as a player. So you were very meticulous in how your kitchen would be or how your lounge would be. We'd sit and have a drink, and if someone messes, you almost.
I felt the brunt of that many a time, yeah.
And it's funny because Thabz is the polar opposite, or was the polar.
Still.
Nothing's changed.
But yeah, so I just had to say that I learned so much from you guys, even Rian. There was a lot that I learned that can be beneficial and will be beneficial for me for the rest of my career, however long it lasts. But yeah, just needed to throw that in. Going on to Chiefs. So a friend of mine who was the analyst for Bafana at the time, he was working for a company called Prozone, or Amisco at that time, and they provided analysis software as well as analysis as a product to the different PSL teams. He had asked me to join because the opportunity at Kaizer Chiefs had come up, and I deliberated for a long time before I actually said, okay, I'm going to. Because I had to take a salary cut, believe it or not, and yeah, it was your lifestyle completely. It's a complete 360. I eventually joined Kaizer Chiefs, and it was I was literally thrown into the deep end. I had probably 4 training sessions on how to do analysis. I was completely useless with technology, and I had to learn on the job. I remember the first game we played was in Cape Town against Ajax Cape Town. I started with Chiefs on the Thursday. Friday we left for Cape Town. Friday evening was the first analysis session, and I was lost. I was lost completely. Fortunately, I had a patient coach, very strict, very professional, but he was patient with me. And he showed me the ropes as the season went on. I joined in November, and that season we came second. We had been on top until probably the last 4 or 5 games, and then we came second. But through that time, I mean, Stuart Baxter was he had guided me in visual techniques on how to show players clips, how to package your clips, when down to the nitty gritty, when to stop, when to play, when to rewind, when to fast forward, and those little things have helped me tremendously now. Being thrown in the deep end and having to learn on my feet. And yeah, so the following season we had won the league. We won a double MTN 8 as well as the league. It was his last season, and yeah, but it was great. I mean, we broke close to 13 records that season. It was phenomenal. We had been playing in Africa. We had been playing here. We played. There was a stage we went 13 weeks. Of Monday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Saturday games, and through all of that, that's where the learning developed. So, yeah. Post that was obviously Steve Campella, which is challenging as well. Probably the greatest man I've ever met, to be completely honest with you. Upon reflection, I think he's the greatest gentleman I have ever met in my life. He's football-wise, he's very knowledgeable, but as a person, I thought he was just absolutely something else. And to this day, I still think that. Yeah. After him, we all know what happened with Coach Steve. After him was Solinas. Solinas, great guy. His methods and could be questioned, but he had a philosophy, and he stuck to it. Whether it was right or wrong, there's no right or wrong, but he stuck with it. A bit difficult to deal with, very meticulous. Italian, defensively, it was every little detail, down to if you at this point on the field with so many meters behind you, this is where you need to be positioned, and so on. But also with regards to analysis, absolutely spot on. He analyzed every single detail of the opposition, down to the minor detail. And yeah, unfortunately, didn't work out for him at Chiefs either. And now it's Coach Ernst, German, very strict, very very professional. It can be a bit difficult working with him. However, I think he's been in the industry for long enough to know how to get the best out of people, and to know how to achieve a goal, however big or small the goal is. But yeah, it's been great working with the different coaches. Also at Bafana, I've worked with Coach Stewart as well as Coach Molefe. Currently, I'm still working with Molefe. But obviously it's on a consultancy basis. Also, great guy, very knowledgeable when it comes to football. His man management skills are good, and yeah, if I can just end off what I'm saying, I'm rambling on a bit. The key point that came out of working with all of these coaches is that man management is at the pinnacle of getting the best out of people. You know, the way you interact with someone, the way you understand the next person and get them to understand you, that's the most important part of coaching. I feel.
100%. I would agree with you 100%, Mark. That's technically correct versus man management and handling people. Now, when you say that, I think of the book, the New Zealand book, Legacy. I think it's called Legacy, and it really speaks to being a good person. And the term they use there is no dickheads, and that goes from coaches all the way down to players. And I think it kind of touches on what you're speaking about now, is that as a coach, if you want the best out of your players, essentially you have to manage them properly as well. And I think that definitely goes a long way. Mark, so you've given us an in-depth explanation, or rather conversation about your life at Kaizer Chiefs. And you've also had, or are having a stint with Bafana as part of the technical team. So, I mean, in the beginning, I alluded to the fact that both you gents are professional in your own way, and you do them at a top level, and you do them professionally as well. How's on that level of professionalism? How are things over there? How like a day for Mark Davy, when he wakes up and he has to deal with national soccer players? How's that?
It can be challenging. You're dealing with players that are at the highest level. I know you would say that PSL is elite football, but now you're taking it just one step further. So a lot of the players are playing abroad. They're interacting on a daily basis with other international players. So there could be a bit of arrogance. There could be inflated egos, and which I don't think at times is not a bad thing. I think it's needed at times, but it's actually quite interesting, and it's quite it can, if you look at it properly and you take yourself out of the situation, forget the pressure and that, there's a lot that you can learn from these players that have been playing abroad for a long time, that have also been in different setups. So you can learn quite a bit. For example, Kamokhelo Mokocho, he's playing at Brentford in the championship, and he's been there for years. The way they do analysis, he's helped me, because when we in camp, we spend a lot of time together. So he's helped me understand the type of things they put value on in the UK, specifically the championship. A lot of it is statistical based, whereas a lot of my work is just purely video. So yeah, it's Percy Tau, someone who is extremely deserving of where he is, purely because of his work ethic, his curiosity, his professionalism. He thinks about the game. He's constantly questioning. So it's very interesting, because there's a lot to learn from these guys. And honestly, people look at our players and think, sportsmen, upstairs there's not much. It's quite the opposite. They are very intelligent people, very, very intelligent people. And also they also have a different type of intelligence, which is cool. And Steve Compella always used to say that footballers are mathematicians, because you need to measure how long or how short, or the weight of my pass, how many meters I need to put this. It's a different type of intelligence, and it's very nice. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and on the lighter side, Mark, obviously you guys had to travel quite a bit with your teams. Talk to us about traveling with Kaizer Chiefs and Bafana. How's that? Was you all over the country, not just the country, but you're going to outside countries as well. Just on the lighter side, tell us what it's like traveling with those guys and with those teams.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I love it. Actually, it's like Congo. I've been quite a few places in Africa, but for me, what stood out was Morocco, Congo, and Egypt. Congo, for me, the best hotel I've ever stayed in, it's on the border of Kinshasa and Brazzaville, I think it is. But Congo, the people, the African people, we are African people, but it's just, there's like the women, they walk around with pride. Even the men, it's a bit of that arrogance, but they walk around with their chests out, and it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful, honestly. And Morocco was great. Egypt was also good. But yeah, those experiences you can't do anything else. So I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah. And
can I just ask you, Mark, as obviously Kaizer Chiefs, massive brand, massive team. Do you guys feel that weight on your shoulders when your coaches? Do you feel ever like when you guys are under pressure? Do you guys as a technical team feel like we are the technical staff of a massive brand?
At times you do. It's a good question because I thought about it this morning actually. At times you do feel the pressure, especially when things are not going well. However, you get so stuck in routine, of the daily routine of waking up, making sure I'm on time for training, I'm on time for this meeting, I'm on time for that you kind of lose sight of where you are. So I think sometimes it's good to feel that pressure. So maybe doing things where you remove yourself from the situation and you look and you realize where you are. It might add pressure, but that pressure should be used positively, as opposed to now I'm going to crumble under this because now there's millions of supporters. It's all about how you manage it, and the manager, the coach has a big part to play, especially for the players, to soak up a lot of the pressure from the media and from the board or from the chairman. The coach and one person that really did that very well was Stuart. Stuart had a way of taking away the pressure from the players, even the staff, and then absorbing it himself. And yes, just so that it doesn't filter down to everyone else.
And Marky, how have you managed to balance that life with your own personal life? And I know we were speaking about pressure. How are you balancing that?
I'm not. It's difficult. It's you have to. I think having a good support system. I know it might sound cliche, but having a good support system is important. I've got a son now. He'll be 2 in June, and then it's difficult to manage, especially now having a son. I'm not around a lot of the time, and I feel it. There's times like for Egypt, we were away for 53 days. You come back and you miss a lot. You might video call and you might talk every day, but there's a lot that you must. And it's the small things that he's able now to say, "I love you," or he's able to say, "Daddy." And now I often question, what do I place more value on, and how long can I keep this up, as opposed to always being there for my family or for my son. So I think it is definitely about balance. Balance is extremely important in everything. But at this point, it's still a bit of a juggling act. So I haven't got it down to a T yet.
I know we live and learn every single day, Marky. But yeah, so those are the questions that I had for you, and we might come back to you a little bit later. But Thabz, I'm going to hand over to you for a short while.
Yeah, no, Mark, from my side, firstly, I just want to say for me as a coach, the best thing I can, when I think of you is, I spoke to you, and in fact, I think it came from you to say, hey, Thabz, if you'd like me to come and help with the team, And I thought, okay, maybe he's saying the right things, but surely he's too busy to come and work with my team. And I was with an under 16 A team at Parktown, and you actually came and you worked with those kids. And I've never in my life a professional in an organization, their management coming to work with my boys at Parktown. I can't say thank you enough, firstly, and just the heart that a person must have to do that. Not only did you come to their training session, but you also came to our game. I think we were playing against St. Benedict's. I think we won, or I can't remember whether we won or we drew. But I remember you saying, no, Jabs, continue to coach the guys, but I felt like a fraud. Not that you came there and you tried to take over. You were really good, but I was like, Mark, the kids will never, ever have this experience. You must take the guys. But you are really great. And in our sport, we can have guys that are willing to do that. And this is just in general, as human beings, if we can give back, and you understanding your stature and where you are and however you've gotten there, but realizing here's a moment where I might be able to lift some kids. I mean, those kids would come to me and they'd say, oh, is Coach Mark coming? Oh, okay, we're going to watch Chiefs today. Like, what has Coach Mark said? And for me, that was more than any technical, any YouTube, anything that I could have given them is what you did there. So I want to say thank you for that. And I want to encourage that spirit, because I think that is what we need in our game. Not guys that make it and then like, I'm too busy. Everybody's too busy, but it's about taking that time to plow back into our game. And I don't think there's enough people like that. So well done.
Yeah, good person. Always, eh?
I don't think so much. I don't want to put too much. I don't want to spin what you're saying, but what I would like to say is that for me, apart from giving back and joining your sessions, it was also for my personal development. You know, to come there and interact with players at a different level, because it's simple to put a drill together and say, yeah, hypothetically speaking, let's hold on Yanni, here's a passing drill, do it, because it's just at a different level at that point. But to do it at an under 16 level or under 14 level, that's where the real coaching comes in. You know, that's where it's not only your man management, but it's also actually giving them the technical skills. You know, so apart from, I know I said earlier, man management is the most important thing. You still need to have a technical base. You know, so yes, it was great because I felt I was giving back somehow, but it was also for my personal development.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a great. I'm going to link that and go into Thabz, because that's great. I'm loving that, the spirit of self-development, which is Thabz. You and I have known each other a long time, another Westville boy, and the amount of I mean, you've grown a lot in the game, but something, Thabz, that is really special about you, which I really love. And you're one of my favorite coaches. And when I talk about favorite coaches, I'm not even talking about favorite South African soccer coaches. I'm talking about favorite coaches in general, in sport. The amount of stuff that I learned from you, and we'll go on to that about how we travel and different and what's foreign. But what I really love about you is the effort that you've put in, you've invested in your career as a coach. And I'd like you to start by touching on how you've grown in the game, where it started, your love of coaching, and all the places you've gone to developing yourself, and what that's entailed.
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks, Jobs, for that compliment, because I know how much you also fixated on your coaching and how much you developed yourself. So thank you very much. Yeah, I started coaching by accident, really. I was at the age where you 18, 19, sort of parents are asking, what are you doing with yourself? And I mean, I'm at varsity. I was at UKZN studying there. And going from an all boys high school to UKZN where there's now girls. I needed to make some money. So I called up my old soccer coach and he said, look, there's a girls soccer team you can coach and I'll pay you for it. So that's really how I got into coaching. I think it was for Westwood Girls. Yeah, we went undefeated that season. So I really loved it from that point onwards. Started coaching boys soccer, coach boys hockey, coach basketball, just fully immersed. So some of the defining places that I've coached so far. So I started Westwood Girls, like I said, moved back to Westwood Boys joined the sports learnership there. They had a sports learnership program, which was fantastic because we were studying and working there full time. So coaching at Westwood Boys, I was coaching the first term basketball, second term under 15F and under 14G rugby. And then in the third term, coach soccer. I was there for 2 years. That was absolutely fantastic. Enjoyed it. Got to work with a lot of guys with their other sports codes. So learned a lot from those guys. But decided after 2 years that I'd like to coach football for longer than just 2 months at that time. Luckily for me, I got an opportunity to join the Sharks Academy. They were opening up a soccer side. They're looking to give kids who are finishing school an opportunity to try and go pro, to use all the facilities that the Sharks have, the Sharks Academy has for rugby players. So I thought it was a very exciting project. Interviewed for it and was assistant coach to the head of the program there. That was fantastic with the top rugby guys. A lot of them, the guys that we work with now, the Super Rugby technical team. So even though it was a different sport, just sharing offices and sharing ideas with them and being full-time and bumping into John Smith, Beast, Taurira, all these guys. And yeah, that was fantastic. Absolutely enjoyed that. Then after 2 years there, across the road, the Amazulu Football Club was there. So they also had a position opening after 2 years to join their academy. They were switching their academy to be more full-time, so involved with schools and such. So I interviewed for that, and luckily I became the assistant coach for the reserve side. So right now we have a thing called the Multi-Choice Disky Challenge, but I was there for their first season. So it was just 6 games. But we also, our reserve side played in the third tier of South African football, which is now called ABC Motep. So yeah, that's when things really started to get very, very serious, because now it was sitting in meetings where people are discussing players who are going to go professional or not, and it wasn't just about coaching for guys who might go professional or guys who are playing for the fun of the game. Again, learned a lot. I think if I had to just highlight one thing off the top of my head, one of the biggest things that I loved about working for Amazulu was that in the early stages of my coaching, I worked with a certain type of athlete. You know, guys who came from your middle to upper. It was just more, excuse me what I'm going to say, but it felt more like the real South Africa, you know. So the demographics were changed. Yeah, so I was there for 2 years, 2 very challenging years. In hindsight, of course, there's lots of reflection, lots of things that I learned, but it sort of got a bit much for me. Not the coaching stuff, but I started coaching very young, and if I had to critique myself, I'd say I was a 24-year-old coaching reserve side, and we'd have sometimes professionals, 30, 31-year-olds, sometimes Bongi Ntuli coming to train at the sessions who were older than me, but that was fun. The other aspect that was really challenging was sitting with a coach who's 50, 60 years old and knowing what's the right way to approach them with certain ideas and, you know, and not just being a young guy who's just fresh. So, yeah, I had about 2.5 years there when I got an opportunity to go to America to coach for a club called the New Orleans Jesters. really the thing that made me make the decision to switch to take that challenge on was I really didn't where I was at with the club, and change in management and change in things. So I thought it was a good time to take a risk and learn about something new. And yeah, New Orleans is one of those cities in America where most people don't really, you don't see much about it on TV and etc. But it's just a fantastic city, melting pot of culture. I think the biggest thing that happened that most people know about New Orleans is Hurricane Katrina. See, that went through a lot of adversity, and then I think the adverse effect of that is the people are very welcoming, very resilient, they love being together, they love celebrating life. I spent a year and a half there. I was coaching. Firstly, I was coaching in the first team. So they played in America. They don't have promotion, relegation, so you can't really say what tier, which league it is. But I'd say probably the third or fourth tier. I was lucky enough that in my team we had 8 international players. So not guys who were in America through a college, but like guys who were there specifically to play for us. And 7 of them were from England and 1 guy was from France. So we had some quality players, like guys who had played for. We had a player who played for Arsenal under 23s. We had players who played for Bournemouth under 23s. I'm talking like top tier guys. Maybe getting to New Orleans, they weren't. What's the most polite way to put it? They weren't at the most focus of their careers, but still they had wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience, and just being out of my comfort zone there was brilliant. And the season, there was only 4 months, and the rest of my time there I spent working with the academy. So I was the head coach of the reserves, managed to win a cup there, which was a highlight because, believe it or not, in America, although English is the main language, majority of my reserve team players were Spanish immigrants. So I was trying to hear Spanish in America, but yeah. And then I worked with the younger age groups, where I met Thabz. When we went on holiday in America, Thabz, you remember how much I told you, how much I'm uncomfortable coaching younger kids. So that was what I learned to love it. And yeah, not to talk too much, but the last part of last 2019, got on a program to join a school for coaches called MVP, based in Barcelona, Spain. So I was there for the last 4 months of last year, studying for qualification they call Master in High Performance Football, and that was just unbelievable. Just 4 months there, fully immersed in the Catalan culture. Because I learned very quickly that they're very strict about. I learned a lot about Catalan culture, and then the football there was unbelievable. And the classmates that I made from that 4-month journey was just unbelievable. And now, back in South Africa, trying to find my next challenge.
I know, Thabz, that's really awesome, and I think it's clear to hear you're a guy that loves a challenge. I think that speaks to your love of travel as well. I think that's why we get on and why we have such a great friendship. Just having obviously you worked at Westfield Girls, you worked at Westfield Boys, the Amazulu Academy. How much of a role do you think, having worked with young players, like working in a school environment, do you think that gave you a skill set to be able to work in a professional environment?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, my early years coaching at Westfield Boys, especially the learnership, was fantastic because a lot of guys start off their coaching as a part-time situation where they do their 9 to 5 and then they hop on to a club team for maybe an hour and a half. But being at a learnership meant that it was full-time. I had the whole day to sort of make sure sessions are planned well, to interact with rugby coaches, to interact with hockey coaches. I mean, to interact with sports, what's it called? Conditioning coaches. So it's really good foundation for me. I mean, like I think I said before, when I was interviewing for these jobs, I really don't think they'd consider Oak from Westville boys to go and coach at Amazulu, for instance, and to find that it was actually the opposite. Most of the guys that they were hiring are ex-pros who maybe don't have any foundation in coaching. So, yeah, I think I treasure my time coaching in the schools. I've coached in a lot of schools, DHS as well, St. Mary's as well. Yeah, I really treasure those experiences.
Just tell us, Thabz, before you carry on. I think you touched on an important point there, where you speak about the fact that you got an opportunity to connect with conditioning coaches, hockey coaches, and etc. And in terms of that, when he decides that his lights on, in terms of that, no worries. Do you think that coaches should actually spend a little bit more time getting knowledge from other sports and not just focus on your own sport? Do you think that it can bring value to the sport that you are involved in?
Thabz and I were having this conversation, I think last week or sometime, yeah. But firstly, I think the most important thing, and one of my good friends told me this, who hates other sports, he's an analyst for Pirates actually. Darren Wilson, you might know him, Mark. But we once had this conversation where I was watching Test cricket in the office, and he was like, switch this thing off. I absolutely hate this sport. Like, it's a waste of time. And I was like, mate, you know how much you can learn from strategy in terms of watching Test cricket? Just pure decision making, why someone is choosing this strategy to win over another. And he looked at me after I made this amazing argument, and he said, listen, if you want to be a soccer coach and you don't know soccer, your best thing to do is watch soccer coaches and watch soccer training. So for me, I think if you have a poor base of the sport you want to work in, you have to first make sure your soccer or whatever sport you choose base is built up and is solid and it's at a good level. Especially if you don't have time. If you don't have time, don't waste your time watching Test cricket where you could help yourself in the sport that you want to improve in. And then now when we talk about elite coaches and guys like ourselves who are, I'll say this sounds arrogant, but ourselves who are well versed in the sport, then of course, when you interact with other coaches from other sports, like for instance, Thabz has been sending me videos a lot of and how the coaches have their views, rugby coaches, their views on building culture around a team. And I was saying, I don't find that often in football. And if you're a football coach who is consistently around football cultures, for instance, you're going to have a feeling to what you think can be done in terms of culture. But like just reading stuff like you mentioned, the All Blacks, Glenn, reading stuff about the All Blacks. By the way, I don't like that book in the soccer fraternity, because soccer coaches read that book and then all of a sudden thought that the All Blacks were the best thing since sliced bread. When we have our Springboks here that we can learn from. So I absolutely hate that book. But yeah, for sure. So to summarize what I'm saying if you don't have a technical base for your sport, watch your sport, learn from your sport. And then once you have a good technical base, then you can learn from other sports. Coaching is coaching in other sports as well.
One of my biggest, not a frustration, but one of my concerns is in a lot of sports. In rugby, we see it. I see it a lot in cricket, where the former player is pushed into positions that are not ready to be able to play is one thing. To be able to transfer knowledge onto people, to be able to lead people and have a holistic view. I think because you worked in a school environment and you were around other coaches and other sporting codes, and you were constantly debating and sharing things. I think there is a lot of merit in that. And I sometimes think coaches are at a disadvantage who are former players who have played, when they've been so in this line of what they're doing, and then all of a sudden they have to now lead a team and look after a full sense of what it is to lead a team, and not specifically a cricket team or a rugby team, but a sports team. And I just want to bring Mark back into that. And in terms of the leaders you've worked with, and in terms of cultures, which Thabz has touched on, which is something I've discussed with him as well in the past, is about getting a culture of creating better people and of buying into the brand and what the brand is about. And I want to know about Kaizer Chiefs, and maybe at Bafana. I know a paper which you had to do when you were in Spain, and in it you had to encompass the culture of the people and how the people and their culture influences the style of play that you're going to incorporate. For example, in South Africa, when the guys start to showboat and it's jiga jiga, I know that I've been at schools where they say, no, they must stop that. And I say, no, but we Africans, we South African, we must showboat. I'm not saying that you showboat and you don't go score goals, but once we've scored our goals, can we have a bit of joy and can we celebrate? Because that's who we are. So I want you to touch a lot on in your teams. How do you bring in culture, what you guys are about, and staying true to who we are and what your brand is about? Is there that emphasis in the teams that you've worked in?
Okay, let me go. I'm talking based on my experience in Kaizer Chiefs. What the chairman has done is created an environment where he's created a culture of, firstly, good people, humble people that strive for excellence, right? And that it's as soon as you walk through the gates of the village, you feel it, you see it, you see the interaction between the staff. When a staff member meets you, really, it's a great feeling. And I think the chairman, that's part of his character as well, which obviously filters down. We know Kaizer Chiefs is a football team. The ball needs to be, it's a real passing team. And I think that culture is so ingrained in us, especially if you look at our academy players. The culture, obviously, with the first team, you get different coaches that come in. Sorry, can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. You get different coaches that come in and have a certain style of play, and it might vary here and there. But where you see our culture, it's I can't exaggerate it more, is our development. Our development. The coaches that are coaching there come from the system. They've played at the team, in the team, whether they've played in the development side and never made it professional, or they've played at the professional level within the club and have been part of the club. So it's a big part of, especially, as I said, our development. And if you look at our teams, I'm sure, Thabz, you'd know, Kaizer Chiefs, there's a video that had gone viral. We played Platinum Stars, if I'm not mistaken, in the Dusky team. Dusky League.
I've even got that. I've got that video, and I show it to my. I want to show it to my rugby team when I want to talk about self-expression, because I love that clip.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. And if you look at that crop of players that played in that team, I would say at least 6 or 7 have joined the first team or have gone to another team, whether it's in the NFD or PSL. And that, for me, is a true expression of our culture. We played great football. We were leading in that game specifically. We were leading. I think it was 3-0 or something to that effect. And then that expression came out. I remember it clearly. That video went viral. It was worldwide. It was seen. So yeah, I think culture is extremely important. It is extremely important, and that's why the people that are employed and the players that you buy need to also fit into that culture.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you, Mark. I just want to bring it back to you, Thabiso. So I had the wonderful pleasure of one day just picking up that, whoa, wait a minute, Thabiso is going to America, and I saw you going for a month. And at that time, I was due to maybe, I don't know, I was in a bit of a rut, and I thought, I haven't traveled for a bit. I think I'd like to go on this journey. And we spoke, and off we went to America. I think that was in the space of a month. I said, okay, yes, I'm in. And then we went. We were very lucky to get hosted by Young Buck, Irene, and in New Orleans with Margaret and Tando, and that was amazing. But what I want to speak about is the wonderful experiences. Obviously, I mean, we were traveling and great sights and the many memories that we have just as mates. That was really awesome. But there's two experiences that I want you to touch on and speak about. And you spoke about, firstly, having not worked, you ended up working in Jesters with younger kids. But I think then that might have been your first experience on that Jesters camp. So we worked on the Jesters camp for 2 weeks with young boys and girls. I think some of those girls and boys weren't even there because they love sport. It was child minding. The parents were like, we need a break, it's holidays. Please take these kids and look after them. I want to know, because when in these interviews, I'm going to speak at a later time about my experience in England and when I was coaching young kids. And I know how much they can play a role in developing you in what you're doing now as a coach that's more recognized with more stature. But I want you to speak to how that experience was for you, coaching at a camp where not everyone was going to. Some players weren't even there. They don't even have an interest in soccer. What did you take out of that?
Firstly, I want to start by saying the fact that you agreed to go on that trip was absolutely crazy. I thought there was something wrong with you. I mean, just going on a month trip. But I think you're missing out one part of the story, though. And for me, it was a bit of an eye-opener about you. There's as part of one of our friends hosted us in New York, and she used to volunteer at a
You've gone ahead of me. I was gonna go back to that, but it's fine. Go. Go on.
Okay, because for me, she was volunteering at a place for kids at risk. So Chubbs and I like, fine, we coaches. This is right down our alley. We'll come with you. We'll come help you, and we can see a bit of the hood. You know, J Lowe's from the Bronx. Let's go see the Bronx. And I mean, I think at that stage I had been coaching for 8 years. After the first 10 minutes of that session, I was just blown aback. Couldn't speak, couldn't coach. Just watching Jobs, just watching you coach little kids, and I was just like, man, I don't know anything about coaching, because it was like, well, you could almost say different language, because the kids in the Bronx, as you can imagine, barely speak English, and they were just, and Jobs had them just like wrapped around his finger. Just knew all these tricks of how to speak to them, kneeling at times, speaking at that eye level, getting them around circles, all the games he was coming up with. And I was standing behind going, what the hell? I thought I was a coach. So, that was the first part. And then we moved on to the camp in New Orleans, which was, again, I was easing myself into coaching kids that age. And what I've learned from coaching kids that age, for me, that I take into my coaching, that I'm glad that it happened, even though I started coaching older people and then coaching younger players 2018 and 2019, was that kids really, really, really have love. Like they just love the game. When you got a soccer ball and you've got 5-on-5 with kids, and you give these blues and you give those reds, and you throw that ball down, they lose their minds. They want to just grab that ball and get it in the goals. And I mean, whether it's a training or a match, because I ended up taking a team. I ended up being a full-time coach for an under-10 side. whether it was training or a match, I'd have to deal with tears after the game, you know? Like in a training match, if a certain Johnny lost, he'd burst into tears and I have to console him. And often I'd end up crying myself because just to earn money from sport and see somehow of because they also, it's not their fault because, you know, you go through the stages of life and you get that beaten out of you, you know? Maybe you get coached by a bad coach. Maybe you start thinking about money too much. Maybe the stresses of the world get to you. That gets beaten out of you. But little kids really still have that magic of, I absolutely love the game, absolutely want to play to the best of my ability, you know, cry after the game because I put everything into it. And I gained a lot from there. And yeah, that's the biggest takeaway from coaching young kids that I've taken away.
Awesome. And then what would then, having experienced, you went on a course in Portugal, you did courses in America, you did course in Spain, you worked with little kids. Your biggest takeaway, what is coaching? What is this business that we're involved in? What is it about for you?
Well, for me, without sounding cliche, and I don't think I will sound cliche, is the biggest thing for me is I think all of us, our biggest job is to find out what's your biggest job on this earth. For me, I enjoy helping people. I enjoy helping kids. I don't want to say the cliche thing, I want to help people be better people. Because I think sometimes that's an easy cop out as coaches. Because coaches love winning. A lot of the time we go, oh, yo, because the guy lost, then he says, no, we're just here to make better people. That's rubbish. I mean, I enjoy competing. I enjoy winning. And I'd say, yeah, maybe it's the other way. I'm understanding this as I'm speaking it, so I might make some mistakes. But maybe it's the other way around for me. Maybe I enjoy competing and love soccer, and then as a byeffect, those values of life and making better people happen. You know, I'm not a cheater, but I do enjoy competing. So, yeah.
No, I hear you, and I think it is easier though to the environment. Your team is happier when they're winning, and then those can be entrenched. Not that you can't get that if you lose, and you can lose, and then it forces you to dig deeper and get that resilience. But it is easier to grow those great qualities as well when a team is doing well and winning. You're right, and we must compete. That's an important part of life, is competing as well. To close it up, I just want to one more question. And Thabz, I've spoken to you a lot, and I want to pose this question to both you and Mark. Thabz, having gone to these courses as well, and Mark, you touched on it as well. The fact that South Africa has so much talent, and we're up there in terms of the best of them, with our national teams or whatever the case be. What are we lacking for us to be able to translate the potential we have, the talent we have, into results ultimately at the top level? Let's start with you, Thabz.
Yeah, we could speak for hours about this, but let me try to summarize it for me. My experiences in America and in Spain, coaching young kids there, I think South Africa has so much talent. I mean, South Africans are so, go back to what Glenn said. The biggest thing for me is if South African football can take what makes us good at rugby, for instance, modern day, is we've got Chesney Colby playing on the wing, we've got Peter, even though he's not technically a South African, but we really have a melting pot of cultures and of systems that are reflected in our national team, let's say for rugby as well. And what happened is, with my theory, of course, for rugby, soccer, swimming, for rugby, cricket, swimming, definitely didn't change. You still get your top athletes coming from your top model semis almost for the top talent in those sports. But for soccer, the landscape changed completely. There's many clubs that were powerhouses in apartheid days that were dissolved. and then there was many other clubs that had to be included, etc. So an easy cop-out would be to say almost South African football is a new sector that we need to learn how to manage and to get the best out of. But also to be on the other side and say, if football just learned a lot more from the sports that we have that are able to be world champions. I'm not saying we can do it at football. It'll be bloody hard because it is the biggest sport in the world. In other countries, like let's say Spain, even die by the sport, but we could be a lot more competitive with what we have. And it is the most participated sport in the country. So it's a shame that we don't bring as much joy to South Africans as we can and as we should. But yeah.
Thank you. Thabz, Mark?
I agree 100% with Thabz. Also, I think a big part of, and it ties into what he's saying, is our foundation. And it's been said, it also sounds like it's been on repeat, but we don't have enough quality development, football development academies, even SAF on its own. There's no real development academy. And I think if you look at these, say rugby for instance, based on the little knowledge that I know, that I have, these boys are played by very good coaches from a young age. And I think if we have that in football, because we have creativity, if we've given them the foundation, where we have a foundation, we have a base, and with that base, I have a saying that I thought of the other day is that, and it might have been used before, but the structure would lay the foundation for creativity. So we'd be able to express our creativity in a structured environment. And then when I say structured environment, I mean on the field. If we have our basics in terms of our tactics and our technical ability, exactly.
Fundamentals.
So within that, our creativity will come out naturally. When a play is in a tight space, that's when you can use your samayas and you can use your, it's knowing. It's also knowing when to use it. I know we said we need to express ourselves. We are African, and South Africa specifically, but knowing when to use it. And I think with the foundation, with the structure, that will come out. So yeah, for me, foundation and development is a big thing, and a big reason as to why we have not reached the levels that we can reach.
Okay. No, thanks, guys. I hope that we can rectify that and get to a point where we can start to really compete with the best of them. I mean, obviously, I'm not just a soccer fundi or anywhere near you guys, but I really love the game, and I think that South Africa is really, for me, some of the things that the kids do. It's so exciting, and just watching the play and the amount of joy that soccer can give. Quite a few people know that as much as I love rugby, I actually watch way more soccer than I do rugby. I love soccer. You can put a ball down, and if you said to me, let's go play touch or let's go play a five-a-side, I'll pick five-a-side any day because I think it's just an amazing game. So, but thank you guys for your time.
Play five-a-side.
Hey, stop it. But guys, thank you so much for your time. Mark, Davy, I always say my dad is a difficult man to reach on a phone. I don't know why my dad has a phone. But you make my dad look like child's play. He's a lighty. So the fact that we could get you on a chat is awesome, and I can't wait for lockdown to close or to reopen and end, and then we can travel again, because I want to come to Joburg and still have many chats. As much as I love discussing sport with you, I just love hanging out with you because you're one of the coolest guys I know, so chilled, easygoing, and I think that as well as a leader in what you're doing, I can imagine the guys relating really well to your style. Thabz, as always, again, great sharing, going down memory lane with you. If there's one thing I I can say is I think you're going to make it and you're going to be successful as a coach because your love of developing yourself, your self-belief is proper. Some might say arrogant, but I think it's in order to be a top gun, you need to act like a top gun. You need to believe in yourself, and you believe in yourself. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and also just from my side, Mark, sorry to cut you off. Thanks, guys. Really learned quite a bit from both of you, like on a professional level. And yeah, Mark, David's been a long time, and I'm glad you didn't give us the ninja bomb this time around. And that's and we must catch up sometime. You know, it'd be great to meet your son and to have a chat to Marie as well. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And so we'll see you in Mexico. Eh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Thabz. Thanks, Thabz. It was great.
From my side, thank you very much, Thabz and Mark. Even though I haven't met you yet, Glenn, I've heard so much about you, not always about sports. And Mark, yeah, Thabz talks about you all the time, always telling me good stuff. And hey, you know, my friend Mark said this and that. Was good to share some insight and to be amongst 3 top coaches. Glad to come on board, and hopefully we can grab a beer soon.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thabz can't handle it together.
Listen, you'll have to like chain him if you want him to be there.
Hey?
I'm saying if you want Mark to be there, you have to chain him down somewhere and make sure that he's actually there, doesn't it? All right, gentlemen. Thanks so much. It's been real.
Yes, man. Have this lifestyle, this demand.
Sorry. They'll edit this. Can we? Who's that? Whose dog is that? Thabz.
No.
Is that your dog?
It's my dog.
Not my dog.
Is it yours, Mark?
I don't know the dog.
Okay, no, sorry. Okay, continue.
In which I deal with them is a lot different. And had I not experienced those challenges then, had I not experienced those challenges then, I don't think I'd be able to deal with them.
That's fine. We'll edit that.
We'll have to edit that part. Mark, carry on.
Yeah.